2, 1, come. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for this interview, and I would like to know what are the impact that has in children being in an institution, being raised in institutions.
Right, I think there's quite a large consensus now amongst researchers about the very strong impacts, negative impacts, that especially for the babies till 3-5 years old, that institutional care has on them, basically due to the lack of a single person who is bringing them up and who will allow them to develop their own notion of being and of what they're not as well. In the case of older children, I think possibly what I understand to be one of the most damaging things about children who are raised in institutional care is the fact that they lose community. They don't have the chance to develop their own community. They go to school, they do activities, but do they have a home that they can bring friends to? And so that I see as being a very important negative.
And some people can think that being community can make friends inside of the institution, like I have like a brotherhood or something like that. That kind of community doesn't count, because maybe some people think that there's like a huge community.
That definitely does happen.
Yeah.
And it's very important for the children to be able to have that minimum. But if you think about family, family is for life.
No.
Family is not just for when you're a child. And so when children leave institutional care, they will often lose the only people they've bonded with in their lives, because they will be the staff and often others.
Okay. So you're saying that going to extended family or going with families is the best place to be?
Yes, I think also the question of being with family,
No.
I think the basis is being with a family that wants you to be with them.
No.
And that on the emotional level is very important. However, as far as identity is concerned and establishment of networks, family networks, then priority should always be the extended family or the parents. We understand that in most cases we're dealing with children who have either left of their own accord or been removed from their parents due to extreme situations of the violations of their rights. So in these situations it's essential to prioritize first the extended family, because that means that the child will continue within the boundaries of their own family.
And Brazil has a lot of, Brazil is an example of the foster care and a good foster care in Latin America. So what is the experience of Brazil? Because a lot of people look at Brazil like a good experience of foster care. So.
I beg to differ. Within the context of the size of the country and the size of the need, there's very, very little foster care. There's some very good quality foster care programs, but as far as being a public policy that is all over the country, no.
Oh.
There are a few towns and cities, literally a few, which you could count on two hands maybe, that have genuinely established, consistent foster care programs.
So being with the extended family is an alternative than the foster care, or is complementary?
So I think staying within this extended family or returning to the extended family, maybe a reintegration, works in two senses. One is as when children leave institutional care, then it's obviously a very good option. But also for foster care, because foster care is theoretically a temporary placement, and children in many cases need a long-term placement. either back to their own family, to the extended family, or eventually adoption. So I understand foster care as being a temporary measure in the same sense as institutional care. And so in practice I would always support foster care as opposed to institutional care, but not as a permanent solution for a child's life.
Okay, so going with the extended family is not just a temporary state, or
I would say in Brazil,
yeah.
I don't know how it is in Mexico and in other countries, but in Brazil today, most children are removed from their parents linked to drug addiction.
Okay.
And the drug addiction is to very heavy drugs like crack. And the experience of recuperation from crack is it's several years. And so therefore you need to look at long-term placements because of what situation the children are coming out of. And that's why I see it's especially important to look to the extended family. Also because it offers the possibility of a continued relationship with the parents, when in the case of drug addiction, without suffering the direct consequences day to day.
Okay, so we have to stop here.